And hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again with another YouTube reading guide series. Today I'm releasing a short series of videos talking through the Marvel What If line of comics. So let's begin with a simple question. What are the What If comics? What If, sometimes stylized as What If ... is a comic book anthology series published by Marvel Comics whose stories explore how the Marvel Universe might have unfolded if key moments in its history had not occurred as they did in mainstream continuity. What If debuted in 1977 and had two major long-running series or volumes. There was then something of a break before the idea returned as a series of much smaller volumes, around 5 or 6 issues at a time, that released every year or so, give or take. If you've not heard of these comics, but you have heard of What If, this is probably due to the animated series based on the What If comics that premiered on Disney Plus in 2021. Now, I haven't seen this because I can't afford yet another streaming service, and so I will not be discussing the TV show here at all. If that's what you wanted to know about, then this is the point you need to quit this YouTube video because it's not what you're after. Okay, are they gone? Great, so you're still here with me. Excellent. This short series of videos then is going to break down the comic issues of the What If universe as best I can, but focus exclusively on the comic issues. I have, in order to make this guide, read as many of the physical issues of What If that are available. Whilst the Marvel issues of What If number are exactly 244 comics, I've read around 220 or so of them, either physically or digitally. The reason for this small gap is something that we'll cover in more detail later on, but briefly put, it comes down to the fact that not all of the issues are available digitally or in collected physical editions at the moment. And so, even though a friend of mine does own a comic shop that specializes in back issues and he does let me read them for free, there have been a couple of dozen that I just haven't been able to find or read. Nonetheless, I've got a pretty confident idea of where they are. If you followed my other reading guides, you'll know this isn't a unique situation. For example, my reading guide for the Top Cow universe, which included 902 issues over a 20-year period, had 3 issues in it that I couldn't track down. So what that means is whilst I'm one of the very few channels on YouTube that actually reads every single comic I talk about, I also won't let some very small technical gaps stop me from sharing my research with you. This brings me to a second point. The Wikipedia article listing the individual What If issues is very detailed and helpful and would make it seem like it's not really necessary for me to do a video like this. However, what I discovered was that the Wikipedia page had quite a lot of important information missing, and in some cases it had errors. In fact, I even discovered errors in the official Marvel numbering of the What If issues as well, but more on that later. With that out of the way, one final point before I jump in. This is one about nomenclature, or naming conventions, and in particular about the Marvel multiverse. Now, the last video I dropped was about the multiverse for both DC and Marvel. A link to that video is in the description, and it is part of a playlist I'm going to slowly grow that covers the basic principles and vocabulary that all comic readers need to have some understanding of if they're going to dive deep into this hobby. That said, because that video exists, I'm just going to offer you a quick summary here. So, many of you have heard the term the 616 to refer to the normal Marvel universe. This is because Marvel considers itself to be part of the multiverse, which is itself a whole host of parallel universes. The thing about the Marvel multiverse is that there are thousands of them. This leads to them each having a unique number. And whilst the normal one we're used to is called the 616, there are many, many others. For example, the Ultimate Marvel Universe is Earth 1610, and the Marvel Noir Universe is Earth 90214. These are often specified in Marvel Handbook editions, which you can buy separately. And yes, the numbers can go insanely high because Marvel has literally hundreds of millions of alternate realities. As well as that, there are also a thing called TRN numbers, which I'll discuss in that more detailed video as well. So why is all this stuff about reality numbers important? Well, because as part of this guide, I'll be also pointing out the reality number, so which part of the multiverse it is, for every single what-if scenario. I know this might seem like an obsessive amount of detail, and the writers of the Wikipedia article clearly thought so as they tail off doing this quite early on. But what can I say? If you're watching my channel, it's because you like exhaustively detailed reading guides, or else you are very lost on the internet. There is one final point we need to keep in mind for a reading order about Marvel What If. It's really important for your own enjoyment that you read the original 616 version of an event before reading the What If story based on it. This is simply because you just won't understand the nuances of the parody inherent in the What If story without an original version of events to compare it to. That's my recommendation anyway. Do what you want. This is the best description for What If I can ever come up with. This is actually a blurb from Volume 8 of the What If franchise. There exist parallel worlds beyond our own. Within these worlds, each living being faces turning points in their own existence, and a choice must be made at every one of these points. Choices that will affect their own destinies, and perhaps that of their world, or even the universe itself. Call it the road not taken, the chance missed, the decision deferred, of what might have been, what could have happened, but for the invisible workings of an incomprehensible fate. Call it What If. So with no further ado, let's look at the first volume or series of What If. For this volume, I'm going to explicitly show which issues are available on Marvel Unlimited or Comixology, as not all of them are. So, Volume 1 of What If ran from 1977 to 1984. The original 47-issue series began in November 1976, kicking off with issue 1, What If Spider-Man had joined the Fantastic Four. This is based on the Amazing Spider-Man number 1, and it presents an alternate version of events seen in that issue. Due to the multiple flashbacks and slightly muddled narrative, this story crosses multiple realities. Spider-Man did eventually join the team as a member of the new Fantastic Four, and more recently as a member of the Future Foundation. Issue 2 is What If the Hulk Had the Brain of Bruce Banner, which is based on the Incredible Hulk number 1. This idea of a smart Professor Hulk was later explored in the 616 several times, but this particular issue, this particular world, was designated Earth 774. Issue 3, What If the Avengers Had Never Been, which is based on the Avengers issue 3. This world was designated Earth 776. Issue 4, What If the Invaders Stayed Together After World War II? This world was apparently designated Earth 616, which is rather confusing. It's the only What If story which is alleged to be set within the 616. Issue 5, What If Captain America Had Not Vanished During World War II, based on Avengers number 4. This had two spin-off worlds inside it, one designated Earth 77105 and one designated Earth 77106, respectively. Issue 6 asks what if the Fantastic Four had different superpowers, and is based on the Fantastic Four issue 1. This world was designated Earth 7712. Issue 7 asks what if someone else besides Spider-Man had been hitten by the radioactive spider, and is based on Amazing Fantasy 15. This contains 3 separate stories that look at what would have happened if, in the first instance, Peter's class buddy Flash Thompson had been bitten by the spider. That's Earth 78127. The second instance is what if his would have been temporary girlfriend Betty Brant got bit by the spider. That's Earth 78227. And the third variation is what if publisher J. Jonah Jameson's astronaut son John got bit by the spiders. That's Earth 78327. Spoiler warning, with the exception of Betty Brant, the protagonist dies in each story. And a darker version of the Flash story is redone as What If Volume 2, number 76, and later on as well. Issue 8 is What If the World Knew Daredevil Was Blind, based on Daredevil issue 2. This world was designated Earth 7848 and is distinctive for containing the first humour-based What If in the series by asking what if the spider had been bitten by a radioactive human. This joke comedy world was designated Earth 7840. I'm not generally going to tell you what the Earth designations are for the comedy stories because there's so many of them and there's such kind of fleeting joking things, it's not really worth it. Issue 9 is What If the Avengers Fought Evil in the 1950s, designated Earth 9904. The Agents of Atlas, a superhero team from the 1950s, was also based on this same concept. Issue 10 is interesting because it asks what if Jane Foster had found the hammer of Thor, and is based on Journey into Mystery number 83. It's interesting because Jane Foster would eventually become the new Thor in the 616 after Jason Aaron's God Butcher run. Anyway, this is designated Earth 788. Issue 11, What if the original Marvel bullpen had become the Fantastic Four? This is again based on Fantastic Four number 1, and it was designated Earth 1228. Issue 12 asks what if Rick Jones had become the Hulk, and is based on the Incredible Hulk number 1 again. So this world was designated Earth 7812. Issue 13 asks, what if Conan the Barbarian walked the Earth today, and is based on the Savage Court of Conan number 7. Keep in mind this world was designated Earth 79213, and an alternate ending to the story can be seen in What If number 43, which we'll get to next time. Please note this issue is not available on Marvel Unlimited or Comixology. Issue 14 is, what if Sergeant Fury had fought World War II in outer space, and is designated Earth 7918. Issue 15 is, what if Nova had been 4 other people, based on Nova issue 1. And what this issue has is, instead of the random decision for Richard Rider to become Nova, the powers of Nova are transferred to, well, there's 4 other stories respectively. The first one is a vengeful wife whose husband has been murdered. That's Earth 79715. The second story would be a kind and homeless black man in a universe with no superheroes. That's Earth 15797. The third variation is, what happened if Peter Parker became Nova in a world where the radioactive spider that bit him instead had crippled him. That's Earth 51977. And the fourth version is an unknown character with a villainous personality, which is Earth 97751. Moving on to issue 16, that's what if Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, fought on the side of Fu Manchu. That's based on Master of Kung Fu number 15 and is designated Earth 79816. 17, what if the Ghost Rider, Spider-Woman and Captain Marvel were villains, based on Marvel Spotlight number 5 and number 32 and Marvel Superheroes number 12. As with issue number 7, this contains 3 short stories with a theme of Marvel characters who strayed close to becoming villains rather than heroes as we know them from the Earth 616 universe. So these 3 universes are designated Earth 7910, 79101 and 79102 respectively. Issue 18, what if Doctor Strange was a disciple of Dormammu? So this is based on Strange Tales number 110 and the Earth is Earth 791218. Issue 19, what if Spider-Man had never become a crime fighter? Again, based on Amazing Fantasy 15. This world was designated Earth 80219. Issue 20 is, what if the Avengers fought the Kree Skull War without Rick Jones? This is based on Avengers number 96, and this world is designated Earth 804. Issue 21 is, what if the Invisible Girl of the Fantastic Four had married the Submariner? It's a sequel to What If number 1, and so is still Earth 772. This continues further in issue 35 of volume 2. And issue 22, what if Doctor Doom had become a hero, based on Fantastic Four number 5. This world was designated Earth 808. And that, ladies and gentlemen, seems a good point to just draw this first video to a close. As always, please like, comment, subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter, where I tend to post a 1-tweet daily review of whatever I've read that day. Given I read on average around half a dozen comic issues a day, is a good way to see what I'm up to and get an idea for what future videos are in the pipeline. If you want to support the channel, it's easy. Head over to Amazon and pick up the first volume of my pro superhero novel, No Gods or Kings. It costs less than $1. It's free if you've got Kindle Unlimited, and a free excerpt of the first book can be found on the same website as the rest of my reading guides and things like that, which is nogodsorkings.com. The link is in the description below. Until next time, everybody, stay classy.